Hello, hello. 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday evening can only mean one thing, that where I am, we are currently under a tornado watch. Factual statement until 8:15. So I got 14 minutes left until this watch is over. If you see me get sucked away off camera, you'll know where I'm going. Out the window by a tornado. It's not me being rude. Sorry. Bad joke, I guess. So this is, we are in the thick of getting the remnants of Ida here in New Jersey right now. Heavy downpours. Last couple hours, next few hours, and then it should pass some point late tonight. But until 8:15 this evening, we are indeed under a tornado watch where we are. So good thing I'm on the top floor of a building. It's an old building, at least brick, old, been around 100 plus years. I am relatively far away from the windows, so should be good. This is, of course, Taxes in Retirement. I am your host, Andy Panko, moderator of the Taxes Retirement Group. Tonight's topic is Social Security. Now, ahoy, says Dave Fultz. Thank you, Dave Fultz. And no, we are not in Kansas anymore. Never were, for that matter. I've always been in New Jersey, but is a tornado warning. Odd for New Jersey. Social Security. So when I originally put this on the calendar, my intention was there's infinite number of ways to discuss, or infinite things to discuss about Social Security. So I was going to do kind of like an intro and then leave it mainly as a Q&A, because I know lots of people frequently have lots of questions about Social Security. And I didn't want to make the group get too distracted from the tax and other general retirement stuff, because it can be consumed pretty quickly by Social Security content. There's another great group for it called the Social Security Intelligence Members Group, run by Devin Carroll. And one of the members in Tax and Retirement, Elizabeth Boardman, is the main moderator of that group. She does a bang up job of answering people's questions in that group. I'm a moderator as well there, but frankly haven't been involved much at all in a while, as Taxes and Retirement has grown and taken on a life of its own. But anyway, so for Social Security questions, that's a great group. Like all things Social Security, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of politically tainted and biased opinions and commentary about things. So what I want to do tonight is I will touch at a high level what Social Security is, but coincidentally, as you saw my post today, the 2021 Social Security Trustees report came out today. Now it recaps the 2020 trends and projections of the Social Security system. So I figured out I'll spend some time talking about that tonight, specifically talking about like how the system functions in terms of will it run out, or what happens when it runs out of money. There's a lot of fear mongering and misinformation out there about what may happen if and when Social Security runs out. It's not as bad as a lot of people think. And I also want to dispel some other widely disseminated myths and incorrect commentary and views about Social Security. Then just free for all Q&A. I see Cody shared the link for the other Social Security group. Thank you for that. Yeah, right. So dad jokes first. Hold on, just got another message to my phone. Flash flood warning until 1 a.m. All right, good. They didn't extend the tornado warning. That still stops in 11 minutes. Hope we're gonna make it. All right, dad jokes. My wife asked me why I was doing the dishes while sitting down. Told her because I can't stand doing it. Oh man, literally. I like doing dishes. I don't mind dishes. My wife has begged me to stop making police-related puns. I said, okay, I'll give it a rest. Hey. And finally, my uncle has two Dobermans called Rolex and Timex. They are watchdogs. Get it? And before we get into it, as always, this video is only general explanations and education. It is not specific tax, legal, or investment or Social Security advice. Before considering acting on anything you see in this video, first consult with your tax, legal, or investment or Social Security advisor, which I am not. I am some guy here on Facebook hoping to avoid a tornado, talking about Social Security related fun facts and info tonight. All right. Comments. I'm trying to think how to do this. I guess just post your comments / questions. I will get to them. There's some things I want to run through. It'd be a little ranty, hopefully for the positive. But let me start by saying Social Security. There's a couple myths I want to hit right off the bat. One is it's a Ponzi scheme. It is absolutely not a Ponzi scheme. There are some things that look and feel as if it's a Ponzi scheme. And where people are coming from when they say that is that a Ponzi scheme is that People put money in with the expectation of that money is theirs. It's getting invested. It's going to grow. They can then take out their money at some point in the future. That's not a Ponzi scheme. That's a normal investment. That's how investments are supposed to work. A Ponzi scheme is an investment. It's illegal in its intention. That's the big differentiator. It was set up specifically to take advantage of people and to swindle them and mislead them and lie about where their money's going and what it's doing. Social Security does not. There's a tremendous amount of disclosure, like the trustees report. For those who want to look, everything you want to know about the accounting and record keeping of Social Security is there for you to find. Take it upon yourself to look into it. If you don't want to rely on other folks to do that. So, Ponzi scheme in the investment sense is, I tell you, you put in $5, I'm going to invest it. It's going to grow to 10. I'll give you back your $10. That's a normal investment. Ponzi scheme is like, you put in $5. I'll tell you it's going to grow. I'll tell you it's going to, you'll be able to take it out, but it's not actually going to be there. I'm just paying you money from new people investing in. So money's coming in here, going out here. People are falsifying statements, lying about your money actually being invested and earning interest. It's not. That's a Ponzi scheme. Social Security, the reason why some people say it's a Ponzi scheme is that the money you put in isn't yours. It's not in a pot. It's not segregated. It doesn't have your name on it. It's not for your sole use when you're eventually of retirement age. No, the money you put in today does get used to pay benefits. So I'm 43. I'm paying in. The money I put in today, my paycheck, is going to pay people who are in their 60s or older getting Social Security benefits. That is factual. It doesn't mean it's a Ponzi scheme. Think about, again, there's no intent to deceit. Now, I know a lot of you will snicker at that and be like, this whole thing is a house of cards. It's not, but if that's your opinion, so be it. Hold on, just got a text here. I want to make sure. Make sure it's not the tornado texting me. Think about like property taxes. You own a house. The government tells you, the local government tells you, you have to pay $5,000 this year in taxes. In most towns, the majority of property tax goes to pay for schooling, education, public schools. If you don't have, you're young, you don't have kids, you're still paying property tax. You're still paying to the school. You're not getting any direct use of it. The money you're paying in today is turning around and going to pay teachers and buy books and whatever. Even if you have kids in school, great. You're currently getting some benefit from those school taxes that you're paying in because you have kids going through the system. Kids get older, move out, you retire, you stay in that house. You're still paying property taxes because the government says you have to. The money you're put in is no longer earmarked for you. You're paying school-related expenses of people currently in school. Think about Social Security like that. It's a social tax. You pay it because you're told you have to. And yes, you can, you will hopefully get some benefit out of it, assuming you live long enough and other host of factors. But it's not an investment. Do not think of it. No one ever said, Social Security Administration included, no one ever said the money you put in is yours. You have a right to it. You will get it back, blah, blah, blah. That is not the case. So Social Security, categorically not a Ponzi scheme, regardless what naysayers and haters would like to say. I admit it does make for real juicy conversation and anti-government rhetoric to call it a Ponzi scheme, and it riles people up easily, but it is not. Fact. I heard some people downstairs. Myth 2. The government or those dirty politicians have taken money out of Social Security. If they put it back, it wouldn't be in such trouble. Categorically false. What is true is the money that is in the excess money in the Social Security system goes into a trust fund. And I'll show you how this works. That trust fund, by law, that money all has to get invested in U.S. in bonds, in IOUs issued by the United States Treasury. So in that sense, every single dollar, and there's currently almost $3 trillion in the trust fund, every single one of those dollars gets invested in U.S. Treasury securities. And those are, in effect, loans. The government is borrowing all of the money out of the trust fund, and they're using those borrowings for whatever general government purposes they choose. That's factually accurate. But that money has never not gotten paid back into the trust fund. Like any bond from the U.S. Treasury Department, you lend them money 5 years later, 1 year later, 10 years later, whatever the bond maturity is, they pay that money back with interest, mind you. So it's fact that all the money leaves the trust fund and is used by those dirty, crooked politicians, but so is any other borrowings belying U.S. Treasury, people holding U.S. Treasury bonds. Social Security trust funds no different. All the money's been put back with interest. It's never been defaulted on or not put back. Therefore, money has never been taken, swindled, misused, not put back. Categorically false. It's actually a good thing the money is invested from the trust fund of the treasuries because it earns interest. That interest is used expressly to further help pay Social Security benefits. If that money wasn't invested and it just sat there, it earned no interest, and the trust fund would be that much worse off because it'd have that much less money from not having interest payments. So that's the two myths I wanted to dispel. Let me just quickly run through, again, this wasn't what I planned on doing tonight. I was going to do like a high level overview of Social Security as a whole. I think a lot of you are loosely familiar with that, but I'll gladly take questions. Knowing that the trustees report came out and talks about the trust fund depleting faster than anticipated, I want to just explain how this trust fund thing all works to let you know, even if the trust fund runs out as currently projected, it doesn't mean Social Security ends by any means. So let me pull up a little screen share. It's 8:12. I got 3 minutes till tornado watch is over. I think we're going to make it, guys. All right. So there's different parts of the Social Security system, but there's two sort of main trust funds. There's the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. This is the actual name of it, OASI, you may see it called. This is the one that pays retirement benefits and survivors of retirees. This is the pot of money that pays benefits to them. There's also, Social Security has disability benefits. For those that are disabled and can't work prior to hitting retirement age, Social Security steps in and may pay some benefits there. There's a separate trust fund for that called the DI Trust Fund or Disability Insurance. Two separate and distinct, but they're collectively kind of commingled and treated as one. So for purposes of this presentation, I'll just refer to it as one big fat Social Security trust fund. So how does this work? There's a lot going on here. Let me walk through this. So these are 2020 figures as taken from today's newly released trustees report. So this is fresh, hot off the press right here, people. The income, if you will, for the Social Security system was $1.1 trillion. That's this. It's made up primarily of payroll taxes. So for the roughly 175 million people who are working and paying into the Social Security system, they have what's called payroll taxes or FICA taxes, FICA, federal insurance contribution, something. That's the 6.2% of your wages that you pay in. Your employer pays another 6.2% on your behalf. There was a little over $1 trillion of such payroll taxes paid into the system. By the system, I mean it gets dumped into the trust fund. There was $76 billion of interest earned on these treasury securities I mentioned before. All money that was in the trust fund for the year is invested and does earn interest. It earned $76 billion of interest income. And finally, for those that are receiving Social Security benefits, to the extent you're paying federal income tax on those benefits, that tax goes into the Social Security coffers. That tax doesn't go into the general revenue pot of the government. Taxation on Social Security benefits stays in the Social Security system. So there's $40+ billion of federal income tax paid on Social Security benefits. So all in, $1.1 trillion of income to the Social Security system, against which there was slightly less, $1.1 trillion of expenses. There's $10.9 billion less of expenses. And here's where all that money went. $1.095 trillion was spent on benefit payments. People actually receiving retiree benefits, survivor benefits, disability benefits, whatever, $1 trillion. $6.3 billion spent in administrative expenses, salary, overhead, offices, whatever else is needed to run the Social Security Administration. And finally, $5 billion for railroad benefits. This is kind of clunky, but railroad retirees have their own Social Security-like system. It's not actually Social Security, but it's sort of tucked under the Social Security. So some of the benefits here are used to pay railroad retirees. So all said and done, the system took in $1.118 trillion, paid out $1.107 trillion. Difference is there's an extra $10.9 billion, surplus of income to the Social Security system as a whole this year. Sounds great, right? Furthermore, the trust fund, at the beginning of 2019, the trust fund had $2.897 trillion of money, of reserves sitting in this fund. Add to it the additional 10.9 billion of excess income there was from the day-to-day operations of Social Security. That means at the end of 2020, the trust fund grew by 10.9 billion and ended at $2.908 trillion of income, of assets, of money in the Social Security Trust Fund. Sounds awesome. You're like, how can we deplete that? Well, according to the Trustees report, they do this 75-year projections every year, this rolling 75 years. Even though the last 2 years, the last bunch of years, there's more income than expenses in the Social Security system, they anticipate 2021 will be the inflection point where the system starts paying out more than it's taking in. And that trend is anticipated to continue and intensify to the point that by 2034, the trust fund is expected to be depleted. Why depleted? Because there's less income coming in than payments going out. That difference is made up for by tapping from the trust fund. That's what the trust fund's there for, this cushion of extra money in case income doesn't meet expenses. Let's walk through how this makes sense, or how this functions in kind of a basic example. Let's assume you have a piggy bank and you have $200 in your bank. You get paid, you get a $900 monthly paycheck, but your living expenses are $1,000 per month. Not cool, right? Your income is $100 less than the expenses you need to have. But guess what? You have $200 in your bank account, so you're basically just going to take 100 out of that to cover that difference. So now, you make your $1,000 of payments successfully, but you took 100 out of your bank, so now there's only $100 left in your piggy bank. This was month one. Fast forward to month two. You now start the month with only $100 in your bank account. You still have your $900 paycheck coming in, but you still have $1,000 of expenses. So you're another $100 short in your income. Well, guess what? You got 100 in your piggy bank, take it out of there. You're good. That meets this month's expenses, but now your piggy bank is zero. Month three comes, you have the same $900 paycheck, but $1,000 of expenses. Now you got a problem. You have no more excess funds. You have no more piggy bank to tap for the difference. You can't pay your $1,000 of expenses. You can only pay $900. This is what's projected to happen to the Social Security Trust Fund. Between now and 2034, as currently projected, there will be more payments going out than income coming in. The difference will be made up by continuing to pull money out of that trust fund. We're going to pull out more and more and more every year, such that by 2034, trust fund is zero, which means we're not going to be able to pay out, by we, I mean Social Security system, is not going to be able to pay out all of the benefits it promised people over the next 75 years. Specifically, if nothing is changed to the system at all between now and whenever, and the projections over the next, decades play out as anticipated now, when the trust fund depletes in 2034, the system will only be able to pay, I think it was 78% of promised benefits, give or take a percent. So that means if you're looking at your Social Security statement, it says you're supposed to get $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. Well, guess what? In 2034, when trust fund depletes, you're only getting $780. That's what that means. So that's obviously not good, right? Because a lot of people bank on this and have been expecting Social Security, and they've got these statements their whole life that says, hey, you can expect to receive this in retirement. Well, now they're saying if nothing happens to the system, you may only receive 80% roughly of that. That wouldn't be good. But it's much better than the system drying up completely. Payments aren't going away. Payments aren't going to zero. Worst case is everyone's payment gets cut by about 20%. That's the worst case, roughly 20%. So this isn't as dire as people make it sound, like, oh, don't count on there being any Social Security, or the system's drying up, the system will be bankrupt and not be able to pay benefits. That's false. Benefits will be paid, but may be reduced by about 20% in the worst case scenario as currently projected. So some of the recommendations in the trustees report today, if they were to take these actions immediately, this would fix this gaping hole. This would this would keep the trust fund solvent such that there wouldn't need to be any reductions. The quick and dirty fix is that if payroll taxes went up from 12.4%, so remember I said for everyone who pays into Social Security, you pay 6.2% as the employee, the employer pays another 6.2% on your behalf. So that's 12.4% 12.4% collectively. If that was immediately increased by 3.54%, so now employee and employer are collectively paying 15.94%. Man, that's a lot of rain outside. That fixes this funding shortfall. That would shore up the trust fund and keep things good going forward. That's just one super basic high level recommendation. Do that today, everything's good. If you don't, another alternative is instead of increasing what's paid in, increase what's paid out. Immediately reduce everyone's payments, including people already getting benefits today and all those expected in the future. Decrease everyone's payments by 21%. That shores it up. Or if you don't do anything and you wait, those who don't start benefits until this year or later, as opposed to those already on it, you don't take money out of people's hands who are already getting it, but those who haven't yet started, reduce all of theirs by 25%, while letting people on Social Security keep all their payments. This would also fix it. Now, these are just three very basic sort of hypothetical recommendations. These won't happen like this. There's infinite number of tweaks and things that can be changed, some painful and some not so painful. But they all boil down to one of two things. The system either has to get more money paid in, or it needs to start paying less money out. All changes will be some combination of those two. Way too early to say what's ultimately going to happen and or when. As you all probably figured, Social Security is a politically hot potato topic. No one wants to not many politicians want to put their neck out and make changes to it because they realize none of these changes are going to be palatable. They're all either pay more in or get less out. That's just the facts of what has to happen. So chances are, not much is going to happen until the 11th hour or close to it. Then some changes will be put in place. My guess is it's going to be a combination of things. They'll probably make people pay in a little more. They'll probably increase taxability of it. They'll probably increase retirement ages a little. They can tweak the formula for how benefits are calculated in myriad ways. So too early to say, but I don't think we need to worry about the nothing happens scenario and everyone's benefit gets cut 20-25%. I can't see that happening, especially those already in or on Social Security or close to it. It would be political suicide for anyone to cut benefits substantially for anyone who's relying on Social Security. Benefit cuts will more likely be on people who are, I'm 40, in my 40s. Me and younger are going to feel the brunt of the benefit reductions, is my opinion, but nobody knows. All right, so let me stop there for now and look at questions. I'll take this off screen share. So that was my spiel about the current status of affairs at Social Security and health thereof. Cannon, should we consider taking Social Security early given today's trustee report? In my opinion, no. So I assume what you're asking, Cannon, is, hold on, you have a follow-up. If I take early, then does my Social Security payment stay unchanged if Social Security decides to reduce payments? Don't know. I would advise against speculation about the future health of Social Security. I wouldn't let that impact your claiming decision. And here's why I say that. If benefits are going to get reduced for you or for anyone else, they're going to get reduced. You can't stop or prevent that. By claiming earlier, you're already going to be starting yourself with a smaller payment because the sooner you start, the smaller it is, right? And the opposite, the longer you let it sit, the larger it gets when you do start. So by you assuming benefits may get reduced in the future, you're giving yourself like a double whammy. You're starting now at a lower benefit. And if and when benefits do get reduced, it's going to be that much lower. I don't know. Nobody knows. But, just because you start now doesn't necessarily mean your benefit won't get reduced. It's possible it will. I like to think it won't, but I really don't know. So I simply think it's too early to speculate. Don't let this don't let these projections influence your decision on when you start. Let your other life decisions, maximizing spousal benefits, delaying for tax efficiency, tax minimization planning, during those delay years. Delay simply because you think you're going to live a really long time. If you live past your early 80s, that's typically the break even to delay as long as possible. So let those things drive your decision, not this stuff. Now, this is just my opinion. I know lots of people feel very differently. people in this group probably feel, very strongly about I'm getting mine while I can. Forget what you say, Andy. Don't let me stop you. You make what decision you feels right for you. But this is my opinion, at least, Kenan. Mario, if one spouse is affected by the WEP windfall elimination provision, then passes away, is survivor benefit reduced by WEP as well? So WEP stands for windfall elimination provision. It is if you have a pension from a job in which you did not pay into Social Security. So most commonly, like teaching jobs or some public service jobs, and you get a pension from that. Any Social Security you do ultimately get, like if you worked at some other job before you worked your teaching job, and you paid into Social Security for a little, your Social Security benefits may be reduced by something called WEP, the windfall elimination provision. When you die, if and when your spouse then picks up getting spousal benefits off you, the question is, will that survivor's benefit, not spousal benefit, but will survivor's benefit be reduced because you, while you were alive, had your benefit reduced by WEP? I looked into this a handful of months ago. I'm only 80% sure I remember the answer correctly. I believe the answer is no, it won't get reduced. Not by WEP, at least. If the surviving spouse, doesn't have his or her own pension from a job in which he or she did not pay into Social Security, then no, I don't believe that the deceased's WEP will impact the survivor's benefit. If the survivor has his or her own pension from a non-Social Security job, then there's something called GPO, government pension offset. That can and will, that will very likely reduce the survivor benefit. Does that make sense? So if the survivor doesn't have his or her own pension, then I don't think you have to worry. If the survivor does, then potentially you have to worry by the survivor benefit getting reduced. Good question. I'm interested in doing a break-even calculation if I take early Social Security at age 62. At age 65, I will have a pension, but 62 to age 65, I'll be living off savings. If I understand correctly, 62 to age 65 is WEP-free, and when the pension kicks in, that's when WEP will apply. I cannot find any resource on the Social Security website that backs that up. That backs up what I heard to be true. Do you know anything about this? So question is, if you do have a pension from a non-Social Security job, let me just reduce this so you can see me stretching. If you do have a pension from a non-Social Security job and you're subject to WEP, the question is, I guess if you didn't actually start your pension yet and you start Social Security, will WEP still apply because you're not actually getting that pension? Man, this is another one I knew the answer at some point. I don't know for sure. I'm 50% confident, so not very flipping a coin, basically. I think so long as you're not actually getting your pension yet, then WEP may not apply. What I don't know is if you're eligible to, but have simply chosen to delay the start of that pension, that may be a different story. Because the Social Security may not want you gaming WEP by delaying your pension. So I don't know the answer. That would be a good question to ask that Social Security Intelligence Members Group, because that's all that group talks about is Social Security. This WEP and GPO stuff is one of the more technical, complicated aspects of Social Security, and I don't remember this answer. I did at one point, but I don't now. Sorry, whoever this was. Oh man, overseas. I'm not going to know this answer. I can tell you right now. I have an acquaintance who turned 65 in March. He has lived and worked overseas much of his adult life. He has one credit short of qualifying for Social Security. His pre-COVID plan was to move to Hawaii, where he owns a rental, to live and work for a couple of years. That plan fizzled. Can he earn that credit anytime after 65 in order to qualify for Social Security? Bonus question: will that extra credit qualify him for Medicare as well after 65? Okay, so I do actually know this question. Yes, he can work whenever. There's no age cutoff. So in order to qualify to get Social Security retirement benefits, you need what's called 40 credits of coverage. One credit basically means you earn, I forget the amount. It's not a lot. It's a few $1,000 per quarter. It may only be like $1,500 per quarter, roughly. So if you work at least 10 years, and you make at least like $5 or $6 grand, I want to give or take, per year in each of those 10 years, you're in. You'll be entitled to a Social Security benefit. It may not be a lot, but you are at least in because you'll have your 10 years of work, i.e., your 40 credits of paying into the system. So yes, if someone is shy of that 10 years of work, sure, at any age you can go back to a job in which you pay Social Security, even if it's part-time. Again, you only need it's like $1,500 a quarter, I want to say, to qualify to get these credits. So yes, you can do that at 65. The bonus question was, will that also help the person qualify for Medicare? So two things. Medicare Part B, you don't need to qualify for because you simply, I don't think you need to qualify. You just simply pay the premium. It's Part A that is quote unquote free for most people because they paid into Medicare their entire working lives. And I frankly, I forget the amount of dollars and or years you have to pay into Medicare taxes to get yourself qualified for this free, no premium Part A coverage upon retirement. So yes, this extra work, if he doesn't already have his enough Part A years of work, yes, this can get him that premium free Part A. I don't remember, but I don't think Part B matters because everyone pays in anyway by way of paying premium. So good question. I'm not entirely sure of the answer. Tony, can you discuss the possible solutions for Social Security running out of money in the future? Higher payroll tax, cuts and benefits. What do you think? Wow. Yeah. So I already sort of got into that, but just to recap, because this is important, there are infinite ways, again, you can change this. They're all either pay less out or pay more in, or some combination of the two. So paying less out, for example, you have simply increased the retirement age, right? 67 now is the full retirement age for anyone born in 1960 or later. They can simply bump that up. Full retirement age used to be 65 when the system started in 1935. In the, I think it was 83 changes, they phased in older full retirement ages. They went from 65 up to 66, paused there for a while, and now we're going up to 67, then they're going to stop. I would not be surprised if full retirement age further gets ratcheted up some. So that's one indirect way to reduce benefits. You can simply make the early claiming penalty larger or make the delayed retirement benefit smaller. That's also a way to take away payments. You could change the benefit calculation itself. As of now, the benefit calculation is based on your highest 35 years of earnings, specifically your highest index 35 years. So you look at all your historical wages, basically pull them forward to present day dollars to account for wage inflation that's occurred between those years and the year you turn 60. They can simply change the formula there to reduce how much inflation they add to it. They could change the percentage. There's things called breakpoints, super technical, but there's things called breakpoints. Once you have your highest 35 years, there's a formula that looks at those 35 and runs it through 3 different tiers where you get X% of this tier, X% of this tier, whatever. They can change those percentages. So they simply pay out less. So there's a whole bunch of ways to reduce payments. To pay more in, lots of options as well. Make the payroll tax higher. They could increase, like I mentioned before, as of now, no more than 85% of Social Security can be taxable at the federal level. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes to 100. There is something called the earnings credit. People who are younger than their full retirement age, who are getting benefits and who are working, their benefits may be reduced if they work and earn more than a certain amount of income. That can be changed as well. So there's, I guess that's more of a benefit reduction, not more paying in. But there's lots of things. I really don't know what will happen. My guess is probably increase the full retirement age, probably make Social Security 100% taxable, possibly some slightly higher payroll tax cuts, payroll tax contributions. That's just my guess. I think benefit cuts, especially again for those on or near Social Security, that seems like the most unpalatable to everyone, especially the large voting block of people who are 60 and older. So I like to think benefit cuts won't happen, at least not for people who are mid 50s and older, but it's just my guess. Even if there is a benefit cut, still doesn't make sense to wait. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yep. So this was, I guess, in response to Kennan's question, Dave Faults, right? So you're double whammying yourself by taking early. You're already starting yourself off with a lower payment. Then if there are benefit cuts, it's lower on lower, which is not good. Where are we? Okay, just sorry, going through comments here. If there's a cut, would it affect all retirees or only the new retirees who happen to retire at the time of the cutting? Impossible to say. Don't know. As I mentioned again, I suspect the brunt of the cuts, if any, will be towards younger folks, not people already getting or close to getting Social Security. But that's pure speculation on my part. Could they increase the earnings cap for paying in? Yes, but it's not that simple. So what this means is you only pay these payroll taxes, the 6.2% of your wages. You only pay that on up to, in 2021, I want to say it's $142,800 of earnings. Once you hit that for the year, you're no longer paying into Social Security. So whether you make $142,800 or you make $10 million, both people are paying in the same, and their benefit's going to be the same. The $1 million person isn't getting more. It's based on what you paid in. So there is a cap. Now, it's not as simple as just increasing that wage cap on which you pay taxes, because you'd also have to adjust the benefit payment calculation. Because yes, more people will be paying in at a higher wage cutoff, but that also means those people will be getting higher payments down the road, the way the benefit payment formula is currently structured. So you kind of have to tweak both. You can increase the wage limit on which people pay in, but you'd have to either, stall out or reduce the benefit payment formula so that the extra you're taking in isn't turning around and just paying out extra. So it's not that simple, but sure, that's one possibility, one thing to be tweaked. Yeah, same comment. Remove the wage cap completely. Yeah, right. Same thing. It's not that easy, but yes, in theory, you can increase that, but you also have to monkey around and tweak the benefit payment formula calculation. How are the trust funds invested as the stock market has been doing so well for the last decade? So trust fund is not allowed to be invested in the stock market. It is invested solely, 100% of it is invested in U.S. Treasury securities, 100% free from default. So there's no risk. I say that with a caveat because in theory the U.S. could implode, but compared to every other country in the world, the U.S. is hands down the safest, most stable, country to have debt from. Sounds weird when I say that, but it's true. So no, it's not allowed to be invested in the stock market. Now that was one proposal. It may have been W who proposed that, or something along those lines. Now, in theory, it could work, but it works until it doesn't. If the stock market does well and the trust funds invest in the stock market, yay, everything's great. But if there's a 50-60% dip like there was in the 08 or 09 crisis, that wouldn't be good. There's sequence of returns and stuff like that to worry about. So I think I'm personally against the Social Security Trust Fund getting invested in anything that has any sort of meaningful amounts of risk. I know others don't have that same opinion, but the point of Social Security is a safety net. It was never meant to be wage replacement. It was never meant to be fat cat payments for people to live lavishly in retirement. It was always only intended to be a backstop, so some minimum level of income to hopefully prevent utter destitution. And that's kind of what it is. It pays out a larger portion of benefits to those who were low wage earners. More of their wage is replaced by Social Security, disproportionately so than people who were historically higher wage earners during their working years. So how did I get on this topic from stock market? Oh, right. The point of Social Security is always just to be a safety net, backstop, some security, some stability, minimum level of payment that should be there for the rest of your life with inflation. Putting it at risk by investing in the stock market, I'm not okay with. I know other people have different opinions, but I like the idea that it's safe. Even though it's not earning much, there's certainty to how much is in the trust fund without risk of principal loss. Good question. Should we make a retirement planning assumption that all of our Social Security earnings will be taxed? If you want, again, that's just sort of my guess. One of the levers that may be pulled to help bolster the system is potentially 100% of Social Security becomes federally taxable. If you want to plan that in, go ahead. I don't think that'll make a massive difference for most people because it's going from 85% taxable to 100. So that's 15% more Social Security income. That alone probably won't make or break things, but sure, if you wanted to model that. What I do, for what it's worth, in my system, eMoney, it doesn't let you get that granular to be able to model, assume Social Security's taxed higher. What you can do is just broad stroke, like whatever my effective tax rate is projected to be, just add 5 percentage points to it, add 10 percentage points to it, whatever. I can do that. It's kind of clunky, but it's a broader, sweeping, general increase in overall taxes. You can't cherry pick just Social Security getting taxed more. Oh, I love it. If we can't do anything about it, why worry? Yeah, that's partly my view, or at least don't worry until we know for certain what's going to happen or what looks probable to happen, and then maybe there's actions that could be taken around that. Until then, have it on your radar, be aware of it. Same thing with like the proposed tax changes under Biden's proposed tax plan. They're all just talking points. Raising capital gains tax, getting rid of step up in basis. They may happen, sure, but they're not even in draft legislation yet. They're all just talking points. Until these things make it into a bill, start to get some traction through Congress, only then can we really get a feel for what may actually manifest itself. For now, it's just speculation and guessing. So don't worry too much about it. Just know it's there. Great comment, June. If I take half of my ex-husband's Social Security at my full retirement age, can I also take my Social Security at 70? It depends what year when you were born. If you were born before January 2nd, 1954, this is a possibility. You can do what's called a restricted application. You can file to take just your ex-husband's, just a spouse benefit off your ex-husband, let your own sit there, and then switch to yours at 70. If you were born on January 2nd, 1954 or later, no, you cannot do this. You don't have that option. Anytime you go to file for a benefit, you will be automatically given the highest of all benefits currently available to you at the time. So if your own benefit at your own full retirement age is larger than the spousal benefit you get off your ex, you will be automatically given your own benefit. You can't elect to take the smaller one. Dave Fultz dropping some historical knowledge. The basic idea behind Social Security came from Otto von Bismarck, who let Plan B is named after. That's pretty cool. Yes, I save all these up on my YouTube channel after the fact, and I will post a link to this. So all these recordings are available elsewhere. I'll post a link in the Facebook group tomorrow. Where do we go? My son is collecting Social Security disability. I recently met with Social Security rep. I was informed once I start collecting Social Security, my son's disability will increase by $900 per month. I assume I should include this in my decision to collect at age 62. Any thoughts how I should use this info in my decision? Prior to realizing this Social Security disability increase, my plan was to start at age 70. Yes, this is one of the more difficult planning scenarios and when to start Social Security. If you have, so Social Security pays benefits not only to the retirees, to the people who worked and paid in. It doesn't only pay to them. It also potentially pays to that person's spouse, to that person's minor child. I forget the exact cutoff ages. If you have a child that's, I want to say, under 18 or in high school and under 19, still in high school under 19, it could also pay benefits to that child, or a disabled child who was deemed totally disabled prior to age 22, I think. The retiree who gets benefits can also have a disabled child benefit paid to the disabled child once the retiree starts his or her own benefit. So this can really complicate the decision of when you start. If you do have minor children or disabled children, yes, maybe you do want to start earlier than expected, because once you start your benefit, that unlocks the door for your minor child or disabled child to start also getting benefits off your record. So in your case, your Social Security claiming decision should be maximizing the benefits of all benefits paid, not just to you, but also to your children. And the sooner you start yours, the sooner your children can start theirs. Or in your case, the sooner your child can get more benefit, but by way of you starting yours. So that is a possibility. I mean, it's impossible to say now whether you should or what your specific facts and figures are. But sure, in your case, it may make sense to start earlier or as early as possible, because that unlocks the door for your disabled child to get additional benefit off your record. Definitely something to consider. How is Social Security calculated if someone worked only 25 years, not 35? So good question, and we should. So recall I said you need at least 10 years of work. It's not quite that specific, but you need 10 years of work where you paid in the Social Security. Once you do that, you're eligible for a benefit, but your benefit's calculated off your highest 35 years. So if you only work 10 years, for example, when they go to calculate your benefit, you're going to have 10 years of some amount of earnings and then 25 years of zeros. All those zeros will be averaged in to your average 35 years of earnings. So that's going to lead to a really low payment. 25 years, same story. It's going to take your highest 35 years. If you only have 25 years of actual earnings, you're going to get 10 years of zeros in your 35-year record, so that when the benefit payment's calculated, it's going to average in those 10 years of zeros, which means all else equal, you're going to have a lower benefit than if you were to have worked 35 years. So you can possibly work long. I'm not saying you could or should, but working longer, simply every additional year of wages you get will bump out and replace one of those zeros from your 35 years. So that's one way to get your payment slightly higher, perhaps. But yes, it will give you zeros in your record if you don't have 35 years of non-zero earnings. Oh, crap, Craig. Yeah, Craig sent me questions. I forgot to get to them. So Craig Root here sent me questions previously that I will answer. So I did not put these up on screen, but thanks for this reminder, Craig. Question 1. Craig watched a Devin Carroll video. So Devin Carroll, he's the guy who runs that other Facebook group I mentioned. He has a 300,000+ person YouTube group. Just go to YouTube and search Devin Carroll, DevinCarroll. All he does is Social Security videos and content. So that's the spot to go for nonstop, gorge yourself till you can't eat no more Social Security content. So anyway, so Craig says, watch the Devin Carroll video, and he stated that the delayed credits were only applied in January. So if you filed for Social Security in, say, September at age 69, you wouldn't start receiving the full amount until January. I wasn't sure if it meant all the delayed credits or just the delayed credits that had accrued since the previous January. He did say if you wait until 70, this did not apply. So let me break this down. There's a few things to unpack here. So I think most of you know that the longer you wait to start Social Security, up until 70, the larger it is. Your delayed, your full retirement age is sort of like your baseline benefit that's quoted to you. If you take it later than your full retirement age, it goes up 8% per year, technically 0.2% per month that you wait beyond your full retirement age. If you started sooner, it's reduced. It's reduced 0.5% per month for the first 36 months and 0.5% for the years prior. So if you delay till 69, you're going to have a couple years of delayed retirement credits. The problem is these credits are only processed and applied to your account once every January, right? So if you turn 69 in the middle of the year and that's when you plan on starting your benefit, you're going to think, oh, cool, I got all these months of delayed increased benefit up till this middle of the year when I start my benefit. So I'm going to start it, and you're going to be let down because the benefit you're going to get will be smaller than what you thought it was going to be, because that payment will only have applied credits up to this past the previous January. So 68.5 technically. It'll be as if your payment was only delayed till 68.5, not 69. But when next January comes around, so you'll be 69.5, then they'll bump up your payment to start accounting for the fact that you actually started when you were 69. So that's when you get the benefit of waiting till 69, the delayed retirement credits from that point forward. What you don't get is you will not retroactively get a lump sum paying you for the 6 months of delayed retirement credits you didn't get from starting the past year. That sounds very jumbled since after I finish saying that. So you may not all be following that, but so yes, Craig, to answer your question, you do lose some of your retirement credits, but it's only intra-year that you lose. You don't lose all the years prior. If you wait to start your benefit exactly at 70, regardless what point in the year you start, they do true you up to that point. You don't have to wait till the next January, which begs the question, if they can do it for age 70, why can't they do the true up for every other age? Beats me. I don't know why they can't, but they can't. So anyway, so that's question 1, Craig. Question 2, also from Craig. Saw another video that stated if you were on Medicare Part B but hadn't started Social Security, meaning you're sending in your own checks for Medicare payments, as opposed to them withholding it from Social Security because you're not on Social Security yet. The quote unquote hold harmless provision of Medicare was not applicable. It stated that you can end up paying more for Medicare than someone who had filed for Social Security. Is that true? That is true. What is the hold harmless provision? That is for people who are already on Social Security. If you're on Social Security and on Medicare, your Medicare premiums are deducted straight away out of your Social Security check. So the net check you get deposited is net of your Social Security premium. There's something called hold harmless. That means if the year's increase in Medicare premiums is larger than the increase in the Social Security COLA for that year, they will cap the Medicare increased premiums for you such that your net Social Security payment will not go down. Let me say it again. If the dollar amount of increase of Medicare premiums is larger than the dollar amount increase in Social Security, they will cap the increase in Medicare premiums so that these two net each other out. So your net payment doesn't go down due to more Social Security coming, due to more Medicare coming out than there is increase in payment. That's called hold harmless. That applies if you're on Social Security. If you're not on Social Security, that doesn't apply because there's no Social Security payment to floor. If you're paying Medicare premiums out of pocket, you're stuck. You're going to have to face the full brunt of whatever those Medicare premium increases are. You're going to have to pay them. Make sense, Craig? So that's your other question. All right, so those were Craig's questions, and let me get back to this. Craig additionally asked, raising full retirement age increases early penalties and increases delayed credits by definition. Yeah, well, increases early penalties and decreases delayed credits by definition. That's correct. Yes. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's see other comments. Kenan, Al Gore proposed investing a portion of the Social Security Trust Fund in the stock market, the Lockbox Model, or something like that. Yeah, I know someone mentioned it. I don't remember who. There's merit to it. I get it. Historically speaking, stocks go up over the long term, and Social Security very much is a long-term instrument. It's decades long. It's infinite in its life. It can end in theory. This is at the whim of government. The system can be changed or ultimately revoked at any time. I can't see it ever getting revoked, but point is, it can always these rules, these laws can always be changed at any time. But nonetheless, it is meant to be this infinite model where the system's going to go on forever. So there is justification. There's the defense behind, why not put some in the stock market? But I don't know. It still doesn't sit well with me. But I know there's some sense to be made from that. Do you know the percentage of Americans who depend only on Social Security? I don't. More than you think. One statistic I do remember from looking at the Trustees report today, there's 65 million people currently getting benefits, like 49 million retirees and their dependents, meaning spouse or children. I want to say like 10 million survivors. So retirees who have since died, now surviving spouses are getting payments from them. And this is math going to add up. It's like 6 million disabled folks. But that doesn't answer your question. I'm making this up. I want to say it was something like a third or a half or 40-ish% of retirees. Social Security is their sole or predominant source of income in retirement. I could be overstating. Maybe it's a quarter, but I want to say it's like a third to 40-something%. That's high. That's a lot. That's why Social Security kind of can't go away. There's so many people dependent on it for right or for wrong. And yes, they will be severely impacted. Those people who this is their sole livelihood or close to it, they will be severely adversely impacted if benefits were cut. So if and when there are cuts, again, I like to think they won't cut people already on it, or if they do, they're going to do some sort of like income or means testing type thing where people who need it the most, and that's going to be hard to quantify, but people who need it the most will have minimal, if any, cuts, whereas people who have other assets, another source of income may get more of a cut. Just my guess again, but I don't know. It will be beneficial to high earners if Social Security withholding rates could be increased more than the 7, 10, 12, 22% of your monthly benefit options. Yeah, it's not perfect. There's no great answer for the right or best way to withhold or make estimated tax payments. If Social Security is your sole source of income, then none of it's taxable anyway federally. So you don't need to worry about withholding federal taxes. But if you have Social Security in addition to pension or annuity or wages, I guess the thought process is all those other sources of income you can already have taxes withheld from, or even IRA distributions. So you make up the difference there. Where withholdings gets hard is if you have lots of like taxable capital gains. You can't. I don't know if you can. It's not easy to withhold against those, at least, if at all. So yeah, but fair point. It'd be nice if there's more discretion. If you can withhold however much you want, would be ideal. But no, you're limited to only these handful of percentages. Okay, where are we at here? I guess this is the same person about the son would be able or child would be able for benefits. Does it make sense for me to claim at 62 and let him claim at 70? Will my Social Security increase when he starts claiming? I'm currently working very minimal hours. Yes. So if your spouse isn't already getting his or her own benefit and you start early, you'll only get your benefit. When your spouse starts, if your spousal benefit off that spouse will then be higher than your own is at the time, sure, you can switch to your own at the time. Okay. All right. Looks like that is it, and it is 9 o'clock. I did not get swept away by a tornado, so that's good. Hopefully you found this helpful. I know it was a little off topic and different than what we normally do, but I thought it was coincidentally timely and relevant to discuss Social Security. So hopefully you didn't mind. Thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for everyone who had questions, and Craig for sending them in early. Much appreciated. Next week's topic is what? Let me just see here. I don't even remember. Next week topic. What is next week? For those of you who are interested, avoiding underpayment penalties by tax withholdings and estimated tax payments. That one's going to be a doozy. Looking forward to that. So yes, for those of you interested in learning more about how to pay taxes and avoid penalties, next week is the spot for you to be. All right, that's it. Thank you all. I will see you next week. Take care.